to continue the process. I'm your host, Ralph. Week 16 is here, and this one matters because the margin for error is essentially gone. The cute players are dead. The cute plays are dead, if you will. The maybe he gets there prayers are dead, if you will. This is the time of year where the league tells you who's serious and fantasy tells you who actually built their rosters with intent. And before we go forward, we need to acknowledge what just happened in week 15 because it shaped the slate that we're going into this week. Certainly, we cashed in on the 50-50 cash game side of things. Tournaments just missed it. Bets we left a little bit on the table there. But any week where you have the one side covering the other, speaking of DFS and bets, you're good. And so with that in mind, Baltimore went into Cincinnati and put up a full zero mercy 24-0 with Lamar tossing 2 touchdowns and the defense taking somebody's soul. The Chargers clipped the Chiefs 16-13, and the headline is brutal. Mahomes tears his ACL season over just like that. So we got to keep thinking about the process and moving forward. We can't cry over spilled milk. Buffalo stormed back from a 21-point hole to beat New England 35-31, which is exactly why Josh Allen is the most annoying I'll just win anyway quarterback in football. And Philly finally looked like Philly again. 31-0 over the Raiders. Hurts was efficient. Barkley's still a problem. And Goddard's doing tight end things. Now we reset for the new week and hop into week 16 with all its gusto and glory. So at that, should we just go right into Would You Rather? This is a segment well liked by many of the listeners. I'm going to go over a few conundrums that I have seen online this week. I typically go to fantasypros.com. They have a Would You Rather play this person or that person segment, and I'm just going to read the most popular sought after answers for the week. That's what we do in this section. All right, week 16, Would You Rather? So we cut through the noise. We pick a side, no hedging, no therapy, well, it depends. If it depends, I'll tell you what it depends on, and then I'm still picking. First one, Drake London versus Quinshon Judkins. London's in a decent spot and not overly worried about the injury return because when you're that guy, you're that guy. But Judkins is he's in one of those spots where the script can do the work for you, essentially. If Cleveland commits to playing football like adults, well, then run it. Shorten the game. Keep the opponent off the field. If they do that, Judkins has a clear path to points. This one is close, but I'll take Judkins on the touches over louder than vibes principle, basically. Next up, would you rather play Tatara McMillan versus Terry McLaurin or Woody Marks? And I'm choosing McLaurin in this one. McLaurin's ceiling is the difference here. Woody Marks is fine, but fine doesn't cut it this time of year. Give me the guy who can turn 4 catches into a week saver. Essentially, Woody Marks has a very low floor, and we don't need to mess with that. All right, next up, would you rather play Mike Evans or Bucky Irving this week? Same offense, same ecosystem. Totally different roast to production, though. The passing game can be there for Tampa Bay this week, but Evans is always living on, did the touchdowns happen for him? And Irving is living on, did I touch the ball 14 plus times? If it's tournament and you need ceiling, give me Evans. If it's season long and you're projected in a coin flip, give me Bucky. If it's cash, I'm probably not playing either in cash because pain is optional and I'm trying to reduce it, basically. All right, next up, would you rather play Mike Evans or Travis Etienne? Give me Evans in this one. Jacksonville against Denver is the kind of game where Etienne can absolutely land on 38 yards and a shrug. Evans has real 2 red zone looks, and we're cooking upside. So we'll take Evans this week there. All right, next up, would you rather play Jacoby Myers or Michael Carter from the Cardinals this week? I'm going with Myers here. So, yes, there are ways Denver can get cute with coverage. Yes, Surtain can travel or they can bracket, but I'm betting Myers here. I'm betting he gets enough freedom to matter, and Carter is still trapped inside the what if Arizona, like, what are they even doing this week, right? Like, so we don't even really understand the game script from him from a assured basis, right? So in that one, I'd just go with Jacoby Myers. Next up, would you rather play Jaden Reed this week or Murray and Hampton? So this is a good one, but Reed's touches aren't guaranteed because Green Bay's receiver room is a carousel. It's one of those things where it is a must-win game, though, and injuries force consolidation. They got some injuries in the wide receiver room. Omarion Hampton is still coming back from his injury, and we've seen the split so far with him and with Vidal, so I'll take Reed here. All right. Next up, would I rather play Chris Godwin Jr. or Michael Carter this week? Different from the Myers one. Tampa's target tree can go anywhere, essentially, and that volatility matters. Carter's guaranteed touches are the whole argument here, essentially, so I'll take Carter in that scenario. Next up, would you rather Tony Pollard or Jaden Reed this week? So if you're projected to win or is close, I would say Pollard. If you are projected to lose or you need volatility, then you want to go with Reed. But if you're forcing me to pick one straight up, then I'll take Pollard on volume, even though Reed can absolutely bury that pick by halftime. All right, next up, would you rather play DJ Moore or Rico Dowdle this week? Another good one, good conundrum here. But give me DJ Moore. No Rome Odunze, no Luther Burden, condensed targets. Even when the matchup isn't pretty, someone has to catch the targets is real, and DJ is the somebody this week. So there you go. Trevion Henderson versus Jameson Williams. Henderson's in a rougher spot, and he's sharing. Jameson has a more reliable role, and the Lions will need chunk plays, so give me Jameson right there this week. Would you rather play Terry McMillan or RJ Harvey? Now, I like Harvey as a lead back, but Tampa's matchup is too attractive, though, through the air, and the urgency is real in that game. It's essentially for the division. So give me McMillan. Jacoby Myers versus Judkins this week. Who would you rather play? Same logic as earlier. Cash and you want stability, then you play Judkins. Tournament or, you're chasing points, then you play Myers, essentially. Straight up, I'll go Judkins if you're not trying to get cute. Touches age well, very well. That is the conundrum corner for week 16, folks. If you're stuck, remember the rule: chase volume in season long, chase ceiling in tournaments, and chase sanity in cash. That's where we land this week for Would You Rather. Quick timeout, because this one's straight football talk still. Coaches don't grade games off vibes. You know what I mean? They don't trust the post-game press conference either. They pull the film. That's what they do. Engineering, it's no different. Stand-ups sound great. Dashboards look busy. Everyone says we're on track. But if you don't have the film, you don't actually know what's going on, do you? That's what DevHawk.ai is. DevHawk is film study for engineering teams. It shows you real execution, commits, pull requests, cycle time, delivery patterns, not noise, not opinions. No micromanaging, no extra process, just the truth about whether your team is moving the ball or going 3 and out. And here's the key part: DevHawk.ai is now accepting beta users on a free trial basis. If you run an engineering team, in-house, offshore, fractional, whatever, and you want to actually see what's happening between kickoff and the final whistle, head to devhawk.ai and grab the details, because film don't lie. All right, let's get back to the process at that. And we're going to reload for week 16. We got a lot to cover, so let's just go. We don't react, we reload. That means we look at the slate like adults. Where is the resistance soft? Where is it stiff? And where do the numbers tell you the story before the game does? And so let's hop into it. First of all, big game on Thursday between the Rams and the Seahawks, 38-37 victory by the Seahawks. It was a back and forth. Whoever had the ball last was going to win type of a game. Two teams trying to make their playoff push. Really hard to knock one or the other. Personally, I feel like the Rams, they're one of my picks for the Super Bowl this year. And so I'm always thinking about differentiating them from other teams. And I'd have to say in this one, they don't look head and shoulders better than Seattle, who actually won the game, right? Seattle's had some deficiencies all year, but we keep dancing around the question, is Sam Darnold enough? So he was on Thursday. All right, reload. Hop into the slate now. Coming up for Saturday, we got two glorious games on Saturday. Eagles at Commanders, Washington has been getting cooked on defense, and the biggest thing here is the running back receiving profile. They've allowed 503. That's 500 plus 3 more receiving yards to running backs this year, which is high-end generosity, the kind of generosity that makes checkdowns feel like design plays, basically. That's why Barkley's receiving angle makes so much sense for us this week. Philly doesn't have to force the pass game into being something that it isn't. They can let the backs and the tight end do the damage. This is a Barkley spot, and Hurts stays in play because the rushing equity is always sitting there like a trap door for him. Washington side, if Rodriguez is truly the guy and he plays, I get it. But against Philly, you're not loading up that passing game. McLaurin is if you want a tournament bullet option, and basically that is it. But in this one, I'm going to take the Eagles to roll on the road against the divisional foes. Reload. Packers at Bears. This one's all about what is available. Chicago is middle of the pack against the pass, and Green Bay's receivers being banged up pushes us toward let the run game carry the load, right? If Jacobs plays, he's the centerpiece, because when the weather and the division game tighten up, teams go back to what's sturdy, basically. So Chicago's running offense is condensed by injuries, as we talked about earlier. So DJ Moore becomes the default answer. It's not romantic. This is not math. Somebody has to get them targets, and it's going to be this guy. If you're playing Caleb, you're doing it because you think volume plus desperation becomes production. I don't mind it in a deeper season-long league setting situation, but I'm not forcing this in the DFS world unless the slate is very tiny, like you're playing like a 3-game DraftKings bender or something like that. All right, I'm going to take the Bears because they're at home with the slight edge. Reload. Bengals at the Dolphins, and Cincinnati has been bad across the board defensively, and they're especially vulnerable in the areas that matter for this Miami build. So the Bengals have allowed 638 receiving yards to running backs. That's top tier softness. Y'all. And that's exactly why Achane is a cash core type of play this week. The Dolphins also get a tight end window here, and Darren Waller's at play, and Cincinnati has been the kind of defense that makes random tight end relevance happen. So Waller's definitely in play this week. On the other side, Miami has been one of the stingiest units versus wide receivers. So they're near the top in limiting wide receiver yardage, which is why the Bengals' path points toward Chase Brown this week, and tight ends more than feed the alpha and hope. So you got to fade Jamar Chase, in my opinion, in DFS this week. Miami at home in a game where pressure creates mistakes. That's the angle. That's what I'll take. Reload. Bills at the Browns. Cleveland's pass defense has been elite by the raw yardage profile, but that doesn't automatically kill Josh Allen, because Allen is not a quarterback. He's an event. You can make the pass hard, and he'll just start doing physics with his legs and improv, basically. The Browns also want to shorten this game, and that pushes you towards Judkins as the, clean Cleveland piece, if you will, because the script says run, manage, survive. For Buffalo, Cook is the way you attack the most normal version of this game. And Allen is the way you attack the Allen brace the slate anyway version. But I'm going to take the Bills here. They need to win. They need to keep pressing on if they think they can catch New England, which is all in the realm of all possibilities in this regular season. Reload. Chargers at the Cowboys. So Dallas has been soft through the air, and that's why McConkey, Herbert becomes so appealing this week. This is the type of play, this is the type of game where the Chargers can move the ball without needling everything to be perfect. So Dallas is a little more respectable against the run than the pass, as it were, which makes the passing game the sharper blade. On the Dallas side, though, it's hard to want to plant your flag against the Chargers defense that's been top 10-ish across the board. If you're taking a Dallas piece, it's because you think the game shoots out and volume forces someone into relevance. But structurally, the Chargers are the side to take here. I'm going to take the Chargers in a victory there. Reload. Chiefs at the tight ends. The Mahomes era is done for this season at least. So now we're in the what does this offense look like with the different heartbeat world, right? That's where we're at right now. That changes everything. It also changes how you interpret defensive splits because game environments reshape the numbers. Tennessee hasn't been an extreme sieve in one specific area, which means that this game is more about, Kansas City can still be competent and Tennessee still struggles to finish drives, basically. If you're betting Kansas City, you're betting organizational competence and defense. Hunt with that anytime touchdown looks good. If you're playing props, you're thinking about what becomes the easiest path. Run game and short throws. I'm still going to take the Chiefs in this one. I think Hunt gets his. I think the Chiefs win. Titans just aren't very good. Reload. Jets at the Saints. And this is one of those games where the speed can lie to you. New Orleans is favored. I'm sorry, not the speed. I know what I'm thinking of. I mean to say that the spread can lie to you, as it were. And New Orleans is favored because they're at home and the Jets are chaos. But both teams funnel you toward the same answer, run the football. So the Jets are tough against the run by yardage profile. So if the Saints can generate anything on the ground, that's where it lives. That's where the victory lies, right? For the Jets, and they don't even have Neal, they don't have Kamara, so they're digging way into the bag. For the Jets, though, Breece Hall is the only piece I feel good about because he's the only option with the role strong enough to survive a bad environment this week, basically. So I'm going to take the Saints at home. I think Breece Hall can get his. Jets are starting the rookie again, Brady Cook, so I'm not expecting fabulous things, especially considering the Saints are on a 2-game win streak right now, and this game is at home against probably the only other team that's debatably worse than them in the league, depending on who you ask. Either one of these could be the worst team. But anyways, tilt goes towards the Saints, especially it being in New Orleans. Give me them. Reload. Vikings at the Giants. The Giants are the worst run defense in football by yardage. They've been getting gashed. So Minnesota's cleanest answer is Aaron Jones, essentially. We don't need to overthink it. And the Giants have been generous to wide receivers and quarterbacks overall, which keeps Justin Jefferson in play, even after that frustration we got last week, recommending him in such a high-profile way that I did. It did not work out, but that's okay. Anyways, the Vikings at -2.5 makes sense to me. The matchup structure leans their way. I'm going to take Vikings on the road in this one. Reload. Bucks at the Panthers. This one is chaos division football, but the matchup points are real. Tampa gives up yardage through the air, right? They give it up through the air. And Carolina can run. Carolina can throw, essentially. That's why Bryce, Young, and McMillan make sense as leverage plays this week, and why the Bucks side is tricky because they have too many mouths to feed, as it were. But here's the thing: Carolina has allowed 867 receiving yards to tight ends this year, which is a gift basket with a bow on it, basically. That's why Kate Ullen's number is the kind of line that I want to attack this week, as we'll maybe talk about in the bet section. But if this game stays competitive, short area role players eat, which again just feeds into what we want to do with Kate Ullen. This game, this division, there's no stability. I'm just going to take the Panthers because they're the home team, and I don't expect an NFC South team to have the competency to go win on the road against a divisional opponent. So by default, give me the Panthers. Reload. Jaguars at the Broncos. So, folks, Jacksonville is the number one run defense by yardage, and Denver is the kind of team that will gladly take what you give them. That means Denver through the air makes sense. Sudden, secondary prices, and tight end involvement. And Denver has allowed 898 yards to tight ends. So, that makes the Jaguars tight end angle pop. So you got to look at Brent Strange on the other side of things, bringing it back. On the Jacksonville side, you're also expecting a clean rushing day against a Denver defense that's number 2 versus the run by yardage. So, for me here, it's like, do I want to, play the game with Harvey? I don't think so. I think the path to victory lies with Brent Strange, trying to work in and be assertive about being balanced about that run game. But I'm interested in tournaments in Brian Thomas Jr. and Jacoby Myers, more so Brian Thomas Jr. I just feel like Myers gets the attention and Thomas Jr. can maybe capitalize on that. But Jaguars on the road here. They're a 10-win team already. I'm going to give this one to the Broncos. It's like, they are not this juggernaut who has won 13 straight games. Their schedule has helped them do that. And here's another example of a game where I think they're going to win. But let's be real. If this was in Jacksonville, I'd be picking Jacksonville. And I think Vegas would be picking Jacksonville too. It is what it is. Reload. Falcons at the Cardinals. Arizona gives up passing, which makes London interesting the second he's back, which is going to be this week, we hope. But you still need Cousins to cooperate. That's why in tournament logic, not cash logic, that might make sense for London. Now, Bijan is always in play because the role plus talent travels, man. And Arizona is not a brick wall versus the run. I'm going to leave Falcons in a close one because the structure of the game gives them multiple ways to win it, basically. Reload. Steelers at the Lions. Detroit has the kind of offense that forces you to pick your poison, man. And Pittsburgh gives up enough tight end production that a random tight end touchdown is absolutely on the table. So I think it's Zylstra, whatever that dude's name is. It's fine this week. You could catch him standing around, just looking for that pass in the end zone. I think that's all the points you get. He doesn't run up and down the field, though. Now, Detroit pieces are live across the board. Amon-Ra, Gibbs, Montgomery, and Jameson in the one play changes everything category for Jameson. But, if you're hunting value, you're hunting roles here, not vibes. But we got to be thinking about the Lions this week. They're plugged in all over. Reload. And actually, Steelers at Lions in Detroit, I'm going to give that game to the Lions because it's in Detroit. Steelers have been playing well, though. They're going to keep it close, but I'm going to give it to the Lions in the end. Reload. Raiders at Texas. Houston is the no fun allowed defense here. They are top tier versus the run. They are top tier versus the pass by yardage profile, which means Vegas is walking into a game where it's hard to see sustained production. That's why the Texans defense is live in this one, and why Nico Collins is the clean skill position answer on the other side of things. So we played him in cash last week. That paid off within 5 minutes of the slate starting. Let's play him in cash again this week, Nico Collins. But Texans going to walk all over the Raiders at home. Reload. All right, Sunday night game now. Patriots at the Ravens. The storyline is heavy. New England is trying to hold off Buffalo after last week's comeback punch by Buffalo. The Patriots are top 5 versus the run by yardage, but they do allow running back receiving, which is why Henry can still be relevant, even if the rushing efficiency isn't perfect, right? Tight end is in play against New England, so Andrew stays alive. Likely's out there. On the Pat side, they can run, and they can throw enough to keep this competitive, basically. So Drake May, if you want to reach, that's okay. I think this is a week where he can get 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. But Baltimore at home feels like the spot where the experience and the ceiling show up. I think this is the week where the tide turns. New England has been on top of that division all year. And slowly the Bills been rising and grinding and trying to meet up with them. They beat them last week. They overtake them this week. I think the Bills pull this one out. Or I'm sorry, I think the Ravens pull this one out, beating the Patriots, thereby giving the Bills the division lead because I think they win their game this week. Reload. And this is our final shot. Let's make it a good one. Monday night, the 49ers at the Colts. Indianapolis has been bad against the pass, and San Francisco has enough pass catchers to stress that. The Colts are top 5 versus the run by yardage. So you temper the McCaffrey 140 yards plus dream, but you don't temper Kittle. He has a matchup where tight ends can matter this week. On the Colts side, though, you do want Jonathan Taylor involved as both runner and receiver because that's how you survive a tough front, basically. I lean 49ers on the road because the matchup is clearer for them. Guys, that's Reload for this week. Now you guys understand how I'm thinking about this slate and the plays I might make given certain circumstances. And so maybe that helps you as you think through that too. All right, quick break here before you hop back into the action. If you're a founder, operator, or GM who's ever thought, we need senior talent, but not the overhead or the full-time gamble, then this is for you. Fraction helps companies plug in elite, U.S.-based operators, engineers, product leaders, growth marketing, fractional, vetted, and ready to play right now. No long-term contracts, no bloated teams. No, we'll ramp them up in 3 months nonsense. Think of it like this. You don't need a full 53-man roster to win this week. You need the right players in the right spots executing. That's fraction, quarter time, halftime, high impact. Senior talent that actually moves the needle. If you're trying to build smarter, not louder, head to hirefraction.com. Take a look. All right, back to the slate. DFS picks for this week. This week, guys, I look, I'm not just trying to be right. I'm trying to be right in the way that pays, which means pick your core, pick your leverage, and stop making lineups that rely on 6 miracles to cash, right? So, quarterbacks this week. In cash, I want stability and access to points without needing a perfect game script. That's why Herbert and Bo Nix are sitting there. They don't need to win the game by themselves to hit value. Josh Allen is the nuclear option, though, as you can see on your screen here, of course. But you're paying for the ability to erase a matchup with him. Golf is the stack it and keep moving guy. Baker and Bryce are volatility plays this week, and volatility is not a sin in tournaments, so we can look at them in tournaments. Now, for wide receivers, if you take a look at what we got there, we got some cash anchors: Jameson Williams, McConkey, Jefferson, McMillan, Sutton, Metcalf. Notice what those guys have in common: role clarity or game environment that forces volume. Then you have the tournament ceiling tier, which is going to be Amon-Ra, Nico, London, Michael Wilson, BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr., Addison, Johnston. The cheap darts like Calvin Austin and Naylor, they're down there too, right? And you're building around certainty and then adding explosion, not the other way around. Tight end, if we were to keep moving along here, Darren Waller, Gadsden, these are the don't get cute options for us this week. Strange is spicy because of how much Denver bleeds tight end yardage. Cade Oden is there because Carolina's tight end leak is real. Ingram at 2.9K is a price to take play kind of a deal if you want that. And for running backs, listen, cash is built on two words, roll and receiving. So Achane is the poster child this week. Chase Brown is volume with upside. Brees is my team is a mess, but usage is not kind of a play there. The spend ups are the real slate shapers, if we're going to be honest about it, y'all. Bijan, Gibbs, Cook. Then you've got the mid-tier talent that can win tournaments if the touchdowns break right. So you're looking at the Buckies, your Dowdle, Judkins, Hunt, Aaron Jones, Montgomery, those sorts of guys, right? But for defensive, cash game purposes, you got the Texans because Vegas doesn't inspire fear against anybody. And for the Jets, you can play them in cash because the price is disrespectful and the game should be ugly. So that I don't think the Saints are that much better than the Jets, right? And so we got to play into that very, very soft price. Vikings are the Giants make mistakes angle. So they're popular to play at 2,800 this week. Saints are home leverage, right? So if you want that, I think it's 2,400 this week. But that is where we land with our DFS picks for the week. Hopefully that helps you guys out. If you were stuck in between playing some guy or this guy or thinking through the process, well, hopefully that just helped you out, right? And we will just slide right on along. We've got week 16 bets here, and we'll go over my bets here for our housekeeping section. Last week we didn't do so great in the betting section, but we cleaned up on the DFS side, so it covered our nut. So let's hop back on the train this week in this housekeeping section and try to disseminate some great information that can help us all cash, right? So on the Underdog app, I'm playing Saquon Barkley over 14.5 receiving yards. This is the cleanest type of prop. It doesn't require a perfect rushing day, which is what I like about it. Washington has been one of the most generous running backs against receptions to running backs, by raw yardage. And Philly is happy to let Barkley win in space when teams overplay the run. So I love that play this week. Justin Jefferson over 55.5 receiving yards. I'm not letting one frustrating outcome last week change the math. If Minnesota is going to play offense, it's going to run through him. And 55.5 is not asking for a vintage masterpiece, to be honest. It's asking for a normal game for some competency. All right, those are my underdog picks. On to better. Devon Achane over 82.5 rushing yards. This is me betting that Miami doesn't overcomplicate the obvious. If they have an intention of controlling the game, Achane's got to be the engine. I'm trusting the coaching staff to choose oxygen this week. Next up, Chris Rodriguez Jr., the over at 49.5 rushing yards. This is a roll bet. If he's the guy, the number is asking for competence, not perfection. So that's attainable. All right, next up, Jalen Hurts over 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns. This is the Hurts is always live near the goal line tax, basically. You can be correct about everything else in the game and still lose if this, because of this prop, right? Because Jalen decides the touchdown belongs to him. So there you go. Next up, Devon Achane over 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns. Same logic. Usage near scoring situations plus explosive speed equals one moment and it catches. All right, next up, Chase Brown over 52.5 rushing yards. This is the volume doesn't care about matchup angle, if you will. If Cincinnati is going to stay functional, they need a run to keep them out of third and forever. Achane over 82.5 rushing yards. Again, no shame. I just love it. I loved it this week. Bo Nix over 2.5 passing touchdown. This is a ceiling shot, not a comfort pick. This is me saying Denver at home. Touchdown variance breaks their way, and Nix spreads it around. All right, next up, Kirk Cousins over 0.5 rushing yards. This is the funniest prop in the world because it's basically just this testament of, can you fall forward once? I'm not asking him to be Lamar. I am asking him to trip with purpose. Next up, Bryce Young over 208.5 passing yards. This is a game environment. If Carolina is going to survive, Bryce has to throw. And Tampa is the kind of defense that makes survival possible through the air. Tatara McMillan over 59.5 receiving yards. If Bryce is throwing, McMillan is one of the first places the ball should go. That's the bet. You can even couple that if you want this week. But Cato over 21.5 receiving yards, tight ends, had been eating against the Cardinals all year long. This number is a layup if Tampa is operating at all, basically. So, but those are our bets for this week, man. That is how I see some of those things shaking out on the bet end. So maybe that helps you frame some things in a way that is much more helpful for you. That is our episode for this week. Thank you guys for running along shotgun with me here and going over everything. Good luck in your contest this week, whether it's season long, the playoffs, divisional, DFS, whatever you got going. Let's go ahead and rock and roll like we always do. And of course, we will huddle up after we watch this week's games and enjoy and review. And we'll meet right back here next week and continue to learn, scout, win, and repeat.